Hello and welcome to the Masters Showcase, a Masters Conference series. The Masters Showcase is a series of recordings of discussions with industry leaders within the legal community. We will be getting started with today's chat in just a moment, but before we begin, just a few program details. My name is Kevin Clark, and I'm an attorney in Dallas, Texas, and I am head of the Litigation Support Department of Thompson Knight, as well as chairman of the board of the Masters Conference. And I will be hosting today's Master Showcase. Please note that the views expressed by all parties on the Master Showcase belong solely to the participants themselves and do not necessarily represent the views or opinions of their organizations. And now to get started with today's Master Showcase. Today's guest is Bryce, who is the Global Director of Knowledge Management at Mayer Brown. Welcome, Phil.
Hi, Kevin. How are you? It's great to be with you today.
Thank you for taking time to join the Master Showcase.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm honored.
So I wanted to jump in with some questions on your background. So how long have you been at your current firm?
About 5 years at Mayer Brown. Mayer Brown is a global law firm, 28 offices around the world, spread around the business centers of the world, about 1,700 lawyers. And it grew through combinations over the last couple of decades. And I am the first global director of knowledge management that the firm has had.
Okay. And how long have they had a knowledge management program?
Really, since I joined, there were regional knowledge management programs from some of the legacy firms. Mayer Brown is a combination of long-standing, top-tier firms, Rowe and Maw, 100-year history in the United Kingdom. Rowe and Maw had a knowledge management function when it joined Mayer Brown, and a group of professional support lawyers, Johnson, Stokes, and Master in Asia, had a knowledge program when it joined Mayer Brown. But the U.S., the sort of legacy U.S. firm did not. So my job was to sort of extend the goodness of the existing regional knowledge management initiatives and unify the global firm and bring knowledge management specifically to the U.S. firm. We also have a lot of lawyers in Brazil, about 10% of our lawyers in Brazil.
Right,
so,
okay.
Thinking globally for the last 5 years.
Okay, nice. And how did you end up in knowledge management?
So my story is kind of unusual. I come from a family of actors. My father was a soap opera leading man. My mother was in theater. My younger brother garnered, he's still active as an actor. He garnered 2 daytime Emmy nominations as Best Actor for his work on As the World Turns. I wanted to be an actor. My undergraduate degree was in theater. For various reasons, when I got out of college, I worked a little bit, and then I got the idea that I could get a job during the day, do community theater at night, and have a perfectly balanced life. And I decided in 5 minutes one afternoon to go to law school. And I did better than I thought I would, and doors opened for me. I was a law clerk for a U.S. District Court judge in Connecticut, where I'm from, or where I lived in high school. And then got recruited by big firms. I wound up as a litigator at a large firm in Boston for about 5 years, but kind of, scratching my head. I couldn't do my balanced life. I was consumed in my legal career. So,
and your love, at that time, your love was still acting. You still want to be an actor and...
Still envisioned that, yes, somehow working that in. And I wound up deciding to quit being a lawyer. Or a full-time lawyer, and I moved back from Boston to New York. And for almost 20 years, I made most of my living as an actor. I worked on all the soap operas that produced in New York, smaller characters. I think it was on All My Children for a month at one point. That was my longest story arc, and did a lot of corporate spokesperson work, training videos for banks and pharmaceutical companies and insurance companies, and live trade show work out at Comdex. I would appear in Las Vegas or at the Javits Center as a spokesperson. During those years, I started working at Debevoise Plimpton part-time doing what we now would call knowledge management, helping to manage a collection of model documents, writing summaries of legal research documents so people could search them. And that, when I got older and wanted to have a family and was ready to give up my acting career, which had kind of plateaued, I approached the firm about being a litigation associate again, and never imagining I would make partner just because of, I wasn't bringing in a book of business. I wouldn't have time enough to sort of go through those ranks in the remainder of my career. But the firm said, why don't you be a full-time knowledge management lawyer? We like what you do. And that was
Nice.
around 1999.
Mhm.
John Kirby, a partner there, was the individual to whom I'm very grateful. So I took that job, and I was, at the time, one of the first, among the first wave, let's say that, of full-time central knowledge management lawyers for U.S. Law firms. And so that's my story of, it was kind of accidental, serendipitous.
Right. That's actually an amazing story. And when's the last time you did any acting, plays or TV or anything?
Kind of since then. I've really been devoted, to my knowledge management career. It's been very full-time. I imagine perhaps in retirement, I might, make myself available, but I don't think it'll be a big part of my life again.
Right. Nice. Now, knowledge management has evolved over the years. I think you mentioned, the first group in the late 90s. And you and I have discussed, we've had multiple discussions on this topic, and, you've kind of explained it as a KM 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. Can you walk us through the evolution of knowledge management as you have seen it and experienced it?
Yeah, and there's some good writing on this, and we've, the knowledge management community, as you know, Kevin, globally is really well integrated. We all kind of found each other early on and have been collaborating. In the very beginning, we all thought that we were solving one problem, which was the drafting problem. I need to draft an intercreditor agreement or a parent guarantee or a motion for summary judgment. Where do I start? And we all thought the answer was obvious, that we should ask the lawyers to give us their good documents that they would say were good examples or precedents or exemplars, and we would put them in a knowledge database, tag them with facets that someone might want to use to be able to find them, and then tell everybody to go look in this knowledge database to find what they needed. And it seemed very evident and obvious, and still when we first work with partners in a new practice group, that, often that's what people think of as knowledge management. And it didn't really work because we couldn't keep up. There was too much good stuff. It took too much effort. There are various people. Dan Balian, I think, is the person I know most, who coined the phrase that we should build windmills rather than treadmills. We should try to ride the usual business activity of the firm rather than creating special separate knowledge management homework. Better to think about, how we work and how we store content to begin with, and find it where it is. And that was kind of knowledge management phase 2, because in the first case, we had to nag people to go search our document collection, and if they didn't find what they needed, which was likely because we couldn't keep up, then they wouldn't come back. So phase 2, I think, was driven a lot by enterprise search, and some of the, Osman Amram at Morrison Forrester and Brent Miller at Cleary Gottlieb, they were sort of some of the first iterations of the Recomind installations, of being able to use data from multiple systems to find documents. What's the practice of the matter? What's the industry, the client, to build more context so we could find what we needed. So that kind of was phase 2. And also we learned that the questions we were answering were not just the drafting questions. We had expertise, know who's the expert on something, what experience do we have, what kind of matters have we worked on in this arena, and even business questions like which of our kinds of work is more profitable, that got into the financial arena. And then phase 3, so I'm trying to speed through this a little bit. There are other dimensions to this, but phase 3 is more about, oh, enterprise search was great, but you still have to rely on someone sitting at their desks having a light bulb go off to say, I'm going to go search. There might be something good for me. What about if instead, if we know what they're doing, and in a lot of ways, we could know what they're doing based on the nature of the matters that have opened and the clients and what documents they're saving and how they're entering time. Could we figure out what they're doing and deliver to them steps? Here's, if you're involved in a litigation hold process in a U.S. litigation matter, here's the training you need, here are the documents you need. What if we could aggregate things in a process map and deliver resources so nobody has to know, oh, that's in the knowledge bank, that's in the training library. So I think we've tried to get just in time instead of just in case training. And we've integrated more with legal process improvement, legal project management, marketing, and training of people. So I think knowledge management has become a more integrated effort. And then I think if we even look ahead now and ahead, innovation has become the new watchword, really thinking about transforming the delivery of legal services and using new kinds of technology, AI and smarter technology to package and streamline our delivery of legal services. I hope that's useful. That's a very quick step through a long, 2 decades of.
Right. No, I think that's a great summary. Very good summary. Now, how have you seen the attorneys' perceptions and attitudes and even their acceptance change over the years in those 20 years? Because a lot of what you're providing to them has changed.
I think the notion of having knowledge management professionals and having them be experienced has become more accepted. I think really oversimplifying, in the UK, the big law firms, the Magic Circle firms in London early on started, designating lawyers as non-fee earning professional support lawyers to support practices, and they brought a lot of expertise and wisdom to the table, mentoring for associates. In the US, the thought was more, well, can't technology help us find what we need? We just need better search, to oversimplify. So now my firm has really embraced, for example, after I joined and sort of talked about the models that are being followed at other firms, we've gone in the last 5 years from me being the first knowledge management lawyer in the US for Mayer Brown to having a team of 7 lawyers, 4 who directly support practices, 2 who are on my central knowledge management team and help with global projects. So they're really global in scope. But I think that lawyers are understanding the value. Clients are also understanding the value and starting to ask in their RFPs and their panel, tell us about your knowledge management program, because it's becoming more table stakes. Management, I have great support from our management who really understand the value of dedicated people who really know what they're doing.
Right. Nice. Now, you've mentioned technology has gained in the use of knowledge management or the application of knowledge management. It's gained a bigger and bigger role, now even AI and analytics and whatnot. Do you consider yourself a technologist?
No, I don't. I mean, I like technology. Even, when I was in high school 50 years ago, I did take a programming course. I think I learned how to program in Fortran, but it was very, very simple thing. So I've always had kind of a math head. So I'm more of a logistician, if that makes sense, and a lawyer. So I try to put those things together. And I learned a lot about technology. The technology people at the law firms at which I've worked and at vendors and in the industry generally have been, very generous and patient. So I want to know a lot about technology, but no, I'm not a technologist.
Right. So I think that's actually good news for those attorneys, or maybe even some non-attorneys that are interested in knowledge management, that they don't necessarily need to be a technologist to be involved in KM. So I think that's a positive there.
It's an interesting point, though. I think practicing lawyers, the ethics rules, the model rules of professional conduct in the U.S. many states have modified their rules to mention technology, and that lawyers have a duty to understand the technology that can help them provide quality legal service, especially if it's table stakes. And I think I know, Kevin, you have a lot of background in the e-discovery world. And I think for litigators, for example, and I'm stating the obvious, you better understand some of that,
Yes.
Technology and how it fits in. So you can't, and I think that's the category I fit in. You can't ignore it. You can't say, I can just know the law and I don't need to know about technology or process or policies, or, you have to be multidisciplinary.
Right. Definitely. And I think I think the last number was 37 states or jurisdictions had some type of competency on technology. So that's a very good point. And so what organizations, if somebody is interested in getting involved in KM, what organizations would you recommend that they get involved in, or maybe what conferences should they attend? How could they grow in this area?
I think the number one thing, the thing that has benefited me most in my career is pure networking. And I was fairly aggressive about it. When I first became a full-time knowledge management lawyer, and John Curry looked at me and he said, and you're going to tell us what to do. That was a huge responsibility, and I thought, I've got to go find somebody to tell me what to tell them to do. Who's done this before? And I looked people up. Michael Mills, for example, who was then at Davis Polk, is now the founder of Neurologic, a great leader and an early thinker in the knowledge management world. And I saw that, I saw some articles by him, and I saw that he was speaking at a conference. I went to the conference and I just introduced myself to him. I said, I can use your help. And he he invited me over to Davis Polk, and he shared a lot with me. I think the knowledge management community is full of people who gained insight and energy from other knowledge management people, and for the most part, I think we're willing to share. So I would encourage people, go introduce yourself, ask for help or wisdom if you can find it. I think the International Legal Technology Association, or ILTA, which has a very strong knowledge management presence now, and particularly an integrated presence, knowledge, technology, legal process improvement, all of it is beginning to come together. If I were in-house, and even if not, I would pay attention to the Corporate Legal Operations Consortium, or CLOC, which you can find at cloc.org. ILTA, you can find at iltanet.org. On the CLOC side, the in-house lawyers and legal heads of legal operation, which is kind of the new a newly developed function over the last decade, and they're kind of the counterparts, I think, of knowledge management people. Then there are other conferences. I think the ARC group does a particularly good job, and there are, we have organized our own groups of knowledge management professionals who meet periodically without paying some other umbrella organization.
Right.
Knowledge management professionals meet in New York and on the West Coast and in Canada. So, finding those, we tend to only want people from big firms. That's our group, but you could find others perhaps. So. And one more, and I save one of the best for last. David Cowan of the Cowan Group organizes an outstanding series of summits on legal innovation and disruption, or SOLID, that are especially good, and they're heavily attended by in-house counsel. You can find more information at solid.legal.
Right. And just to add on to what you said, your first point about networking, I think that's been so key is I've jumped into knowledge management, the camaraderie and the amount of knowledge that people have been willing to share and talk and teach and whatnot. So it's been, how I met you and how I've met some other people in the knowledge management industry. So it's a very good point, and I agree wholeheartedly with you on that. So here's a broader question. We can focus on KM or just a little broader of what you're seeing. What are some key challenges that are facing law firms and corporations today?
Yeah, great question. And there are, multiple avenues of influence or change happening. I think the desire to have more for less. Everyone is under pressure. When I was first practicing law, I think general counsel were not subject to budget pressures within corporations. This is sort of obvious. A lot of people may know this. Now they are. They are looking at their law firms and their heads of legal operations, looking to outside counsel to be a lot more efficient. So everyone wants more for less, and that's kind of a wind tunnel to wear away waste and really focus on value. How can we provide value to our clients? Disaggregation of the legal services components and tasks. What do we really need a lawyer to do? What could some other kind of person or even other kind of organization do for us? So I think that is putting a lot of pressure on law firms and law departments. How should they organize their functions? Should they hire people other than lawyers? I think we were talking about in the U.S., the codes of professional responsibility and the erosion that's starting. It already has happened in the U.K. on the restrictions on law firm ownership, that non-lawyers are beginning to be, there's beginning to be more of an opening. There is in the UK, but in the US, I think we're going to see some of that fall away, and that will change some of the business models and the opportunities, the alternative business structures that may come to bear. I think training is harder and harder when law firms used to be able to really invest in developing newer lawyers and adding them to matters and letting them kind of coast along and be sponges, and clients are increasingly not interested in paying for that. So, if you standardize everything and have forms, how does a lawyer learn? How do they learn to think? So that's a challenge. And then I think, as we're seeing in the culture today, diversity, authenticity, cultural change, inclusivity, and clients are asking law firms to be sure to bring diverse teams to the table, which are better than non-diverse teams in terms of providing service. And I think that's a big challenge for law firms like mine. We all want to be more diverse, and it's the path. It will be important to work hard on that path.
Right. No, those are some great points. Thank you. So, second to last question, because we're running out of time. What is some advice for young legal professionals coming up through the ranks?
Cultivate multidisciplinary thinking. It's not enough anymore to be good at the law and be able to pass the bar exam and get A's in your classes in law school. It's really important to think about the business of law, the legal services delivery, other avenues. And we're going to have maybe too many law school graduates going forward. There's some statistics that show this, compared with how many pure traditional lawyer jobs there will be. And I think the best lawyers are going to be, when they're writing about the T-shaped lawyer, really be able to think outside the box, think about creativity, think about innovative thinking, design thinking, and problem solving. We've heard a lot that technology is not a solution unto itself. It's an enabler of perhaps a broader solution to a business problem. That's true of technical legal knowledge also. If I know the rules of, the fiduciary duties of board of directors of a Delaware corporation, it's great that I could answer that question on a bar exam. But what is that? The questions my clients are likely to be asking me, my firm's clients, are really about how do I approach this business problem given that. So I think that's it. I think, apply rigorous thinking. Don't be lazy. Don't go for the easy solutions. Really think things through. And I'd say network. Build your network. That's going to help you in, become a partner if you're bringing in clients. Really important to step out in the world, learn what's happening, and be part of the industry.
Right. Good. That's some great advice. Great advice. So, final question. Any last thoughts to share with our audience today?
I feel so grateful. I've told you my story of how I kind of serendipitously became a knowledge management lawyer. Some organizations have been really good to me, but at Debevoise Plimpton is where my knowledge management career started. I was at White and Case for a decade after that, and now Mayer Brown. And the people I've gotten to meet, as you've said, the camaraderie among the knowledge management teams, I feel like I've been lucky to be at the beginnings of legal knowledge management through where it is today, and that may morph in the future as innovation. It may become something else. So I think I would say to people, be true to yourself, be ethical at every step, watch out for your character, and enjoy what you're doing. Follow, work hard, have rigorous thinking, follow your passion, and enjoy life. I certainly do.
Oh, excellent. So some wise words. So thank you, Phil, for joining us today on Master Showcase. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and thank you for just sharing a lot of your knowledge. Your knowledge on knowledge management is amazing, and just really appreciate it. So excellent. Excellent.
To someone, and if anyone's listened to this, thank you for giving me your attention for this time.
Excellent. Hey, thank you all.